Yes, let's talk about it indeed. Welcome back to another installment of Elaborate. I am Jake Lloyd, and I am thrilled to have my guest on this week. It's a long time coming. She is an actress and an incredible vocalist. She won me over with those vocal styling. She's popped up on shows like Law & Order, SVU, Criminal Minds, one of my favorites, Adam Ruins Everything. She's all over the TV. You might have seen her on series like Waking Up with Strangers or I Ship It, as well as so much more. I can't wait. Helen Highfield's on the couch this week. Hi, Helen.
Hey, Jake.
I got it in there.
Nice.
Right in the wire, right in the little sweet spot of that intro.
Nice.
I am very excited to have you here chatting with me today as I adjust our levels. Listen, we're professionals here.
Mm-hmm.
I think you and I are an example of one of those weird things where I think we might have been social media friends before we met each other ever in real life.
Yeah, we might have been.
Like I knew your name.
Yeah.
I knew what you looked like, and I knew who your friends were.
Yeah.
And then I met you, which is a weird thing that I think
Is
only
that really
happens.
what happened? Like
Yeah.
it wasn't you didn't see Rocky Horror or
No,
something?
because we were. I think we were friends already on like social media before that, at least on Facebook, probably.
Whoa.
Because of our mutual frienddom.
Yeah.
And speaking of which, yeah, the first time I ever saw you was in former guest of the show, Maggie Levin's Rocky Horror Hipster Show.
Mm-hmm.
And oh my God, I love that show so much. And you were incredible.
Oh, thanks.
I saw, I can't remember who I went with that night. I might have went Stag maybe. And then I know afterwards, I was chatting with another former guest of the show, Tybee Diskin, and you can ask her. All I did was gush about your voice. You and the woman, I'm going to struggle to remember her name. I think she played Magenta.
Oh, Sita.
Sita. I was going to say Seaton, but yes, Sita.
Sita.
The two of you.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I want to see that glam band that leads the two of you.
Hell yeah.
Because your voices.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. Sita as Magenta is one of my favorite things because she just goes bananas.
Yeah,
she just goes like full crazy person.
She's a fucking rock star.
Yeah.
Like some people.
And she puts on this giant wig and she's
that
just...
was a wig? I didn't even know. Didn't even know. It fit her so well.
Like, I know. I when she first put it on, I kind of was like, wait, has she just been hiding this hair this whole time?
Right. It's been under a hat. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't really realize that it was a wig until I think maybe the second you redid it.
24 months is how long it took you. But do you do a lot of like singing otherwise or other music related stuff, or is this just like a thing that you have that you don't flex, and when you get to flex it you're incredible?
I guess the latter. I like putting it that way. I would like to flex it more.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up doing musicals and choir, and I was a big nerd. I was like choir president.
Those things are separate thoughts.
Fair. That's fair.
Yes.
That's fair. But like, yeah, I mean, I've taken voice lessons forever, and I always enjoyed singing.
Right.
But I've never been like the kind of musical person that's like, oh, I also have a band on the side.
Right.
Though I did join Zen's wedding band for like a hot second.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, Zen Zenith, co-founder of Dragon Wagon Radio and host of the House Show. So I have to always plug shit that's network related. Listen, this is how I do it.
Yeah.
I forgot he had a very short-lived wedding band project.
So if you look, I think the company is maybe still going, but he's not involved anymore because he was doing the like Los Angeles branch of it, whatever.
Right.
But if you look on YouTube, there's some videos of us.
Of you just singing the worst pop tunes?
Singing like Taylor Swift and Amy Winehouse and being like, you can have this at your reception.
And did you just give them a list of options, or did people give you the songs that they wanted to be played?
I think the idea was that we were supposed to have just a huge catalog of songs that we could pull from.
Yeah.
And that actually, I'm so thankful that fell apart, or at least my involvement fell apart, because that kind of stuff makes me so nervous. I don't consider myself like a real musician, you know?
I don't know why not after what I've seen, but sure.
But like, you know, people who can play an instrument.
Sure.
I don't know. Like I can't.
Here's the thing: is I get that because I play a wide variety of instruments, and I still don't consider myself a musician.
Yeah,
like,
I think it's because I have so much respect for the people who like really know what they're doing that I don't want to be like
the people who understand music theory, like a science does. Yeah, those people. I mean,
like
that.
I can get my way through reading sheet music.
Right.
Like I know that note is higher than that note, but like, and I
well, that's, I mean, in fairness, that's just you being observant. Like,
right.
It's both literally higher on the page.
Right. No, but like I can mostly read music, but I can't like, full on sight sing or music theory.
I spent one summer in a wedding band as a bassist.
Nice.
And it was an absolute nightmare.
I bet.
But it also is the summer that I realized that every song within any given decade is the exact same song. Which became very helpful when people started suggesting shit in the band. Like, yeah, we know that. And I'd be like, I don't know that.
But then as the vocalist, you have to know all of the words.
So the guy that was our vocalist, nightmare. The guy that was our vocalist was just one of those freaks who he could hear a song once and know every little nuance. And he was also like a vocal mimic.
Oh,
so if somebody was like, hey, we want you to play this specific song from this, if you want to play Duran Duran, then he's doing that voice. If you wanted, whoever else we would play. But yeah, wedding band, that's, it's funny that you say that because it's hard for me to picture Zen in a wedding band, but simultaneously it's probably the perfect job for him because he's just so likable.
Well, he's so likable, and also he's such an excellent musician.
Right.
So for him, I think, the main thing that freaked me out about it's not the performance, but I love rehearsal.
Right.
And musicians, especially once they get to a certain level, like they don't need to rehearse. They're like, "What are the chords? Okay, great." Yeah. And I'm like, "What do you mean? What do you mean? What? No, we need to rehearse this for 2 straight weeks."
Yeah, I was gonna say we have to play it 100 times before I
can do this in front of people.
I like that too, and I feel like that was something that I missed more when I stopped. So I used to be that guy that was always in bands.
Yeah.
Inverse too, I thought that music was gonna be my whole thing.
Oh yeah.
And then I started, moving very frequently. And when you don't live in a place for more than a year, you can't really keep a band together. It's a little tough.
Oh, that's sad.
But it wasn't until I stopped playing that I realized that the playing out and playing in front of people was really only a small part of it, and that I really did just love the camaraderie of just rehearsals, of just getting together and just playing a bunch of music and just playing the same song over and over again. Like I had never had a problem with that. Like, in fact, I always enjoyed that. Like, let's do it again.
Do you like it? Do you like the puzzle of it? Is there like a puzzle aspect to like getting it fine tuned to how you want it?
See, not for me, because I'm not that. I was never that guy. I was never that like really meticulous. You missed this 8th note here guy. Which is funny because in the wedding band, those guys were.
Yeah.
Because it was like,
well, if they want to hear the specific song, they want that specific song.
That's probably fair.
Yeah.
And I was always more of like, hey, you just make the song. Hey, Dan on drums, like if you don't like a part of the song, change something in what you can do to make it something you like. And that was sort of my thought process behind a band. Like I always talk about my favorite artists, like the favorite bands. Like Pearl Jam is one of my favorite bands of all time. A lot of people don't give them enough credit, but like Red Hot Chili Peppers, these are all groups that they're made up of a bunch of different artists that have their own style.
Yeah.
And when all of those styles come together, that's what the sound of the band is.
Yeah.
And it's not any one of them. Like there are certain bands that can replace half of the band and they'd be the exact same thing.
Yeah, totally.
But so that was my thought process. I was like, oh, well, bring whatever you want to it. So no, it was never a puzzle for me. As much as it was, if anything, a discovery. It was like that thing that we did that time sounded good.
Yeah.
Let's do that again.
Yeah.
But music tangent anyway, all because your voice is incredible, and I hope that you can figure out a way to flex that more.
I would like to. I mean, I would like to sing more. I just don't even really know where to start. Like, am I supposed to try and put covers on Instagram or whatever? Like, is that what you do?
What do you
do?
It's sad, but I think it is.
Right?
Well, I did. For a while I was doing that. I was like, oh, you know what? I missed composing little pieces of music.
Yeah.
So I did exactly that. I was like, oh, well, I'm going to rewrite a popular song and play every instrument in that and then throw it on YouTube. And it was like a thing that, hey, I had an afternoon free and this is what I'm going to do with my afternoon.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, it definitely scratched the itch for sure of that. Like, hey, I want to play something. But anyways, where, so you said you grew up always singing and being a music nerd. Where was this?
This is in Ithaca, New York.
Oh, you're from Ithaca.
Ithaca.
I think that
you know it.
I'm from New York. I'm from Long Island.
That's right.
I'm from the other side.
Yeah.
Which is why I sound like I sound and you sound like you. You're from Ithaca.
Ithaca.
And I'm from Long Island.
Right.
Yeah.
But I'm not. I'm close, but not actually from Rochester, which is everything up there.
Yes.
You go a little further north and everything's very flat.
It's almost like you're from Wisconsin all of a sudden in Rochester.
Yeah.
I feel like Ithaca is a college town.
It is.
I only know people that went to Ithaca, not who came
Right.
from Ithaca.
Yeah, who went to Ithaca for Ithaca College
Yeah, exactly.
or for Cornell.
Especially people from Long Island, where I'm from, that was the school to go to. Like, oh,
Really?
I'm going to go to Ithaca. Because it's like, it's far enough away, but you're
Yeah.
still in New York. It was either that or Syracuse. Like, those were the,
Yeah. Well, technically, I was born in Syracuse.
were you really?
hmm
And when did you,
I mean, like, just the hospital was there.
and then they
I
were
don't-
like,
I
and then
think-
they drove you home
And
to
then they
Ithaca?
drove me home.
Why?
Well,
wait.
I was born a month early, so I think there were some medical complications, so they needed a fancier hospital. So they went to the.
So they went a little out of the way.
Yeah,
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
And so was your parents living in Ithaca long before you came along?
They were working at Cornell. They were both.
Whoa.
No, I come from a line of like super academics, and I didn't go to
No,
college.
no pressure. No pressure.
I went to theater school.
Wait, what did your parents do at Cornell?
My dad was the. I hope I don't get this wrong. I think I don't know.
They're not listening.
He's my dad. He was doing. No, he was the associate dean at the business school for a long time.
Wow.
And then my
Okay.
mom worked. She worked in a few different schools at Cornell, but she mostly worked at the hotel school teaching business communications. So
The hotel school?
Yeah, they
Like the
teach-
school to teach people how to run hotels?
Yeah.
There is a school dedicated
Yeah.
just to teach people how to run hotels.
Yeah. And I remember going to events with her there. They would have the students would put on some kind of fancy dinner night, and that was part of their
Right?
training.
Oh,
It's
that was like the class. Like,
that was the
this
class.
this was my senior project.
Yeah.
Was like throwing an event.
Yeah, throwing an event.
Which is weird because I feel like running a hotel is also having a business. So I feel like there are at times Dad was like, hey, I'm pretty much just doing what you're doing, but on a much larger scale.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. But also the only stuff I've ever heard him talk about are like just very boring figures, economics and statistics, and
gotcha.
like very.
He was
He's a real like numbers
the,
guy.
The back end of the business,
Yeah.
not the front end. He's
Yeah.
back of house for all of
and
you
then
servers out
she
there.
was front, yeah.
How interesting. And
Yeah.
were they growing up with them? Are they like, hey, you got to do all your schoolwork? Were they like super hard on you academic wise?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I've always been like interested in school. I was a really good student. I liked it. And I took pride in being a good student. I think I was a bit of a
one of
goody-goody. I know,
those.
yeah. But I don't have any memories of them like really pressuring me. I mean, if anything, I have memories of my mom being like, okay, so you're doing like 60 extracurricular activities and you're in all the AP classes. Like, girl, you need to sleep. Like maybe
Wow.
drop something.
And do you have any? So you just had this incredible work ethic as a kid.
Or something. I mean, probably if we go into the therapy
Why?
of it, there's probably running from something.
I want to
don't
know. That's what I want to
Yeah, I
know.
don't
That's my task here now. Like, why were you? Because I don't know. Especially if you're into the arts.
Yeah.
Then I feel like as a kid, I was also a kid into the arts. I loved music. I loved movies and TV, and I loved comic books and art. And because of that, I could not care less about school.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't those things. Except when it was those things, then I loved
I
it.
started to get that way like the second half of senior year. Like I
waited till the very, very end.
I really
of
did.
all
I
of
know,
my
but
school.
literally my grades went from like A minus, A to like C,
Okay.
D in some stuff because I was like, man, who cares?
Right. I'm
Whatever.
out of here in
Why?
3 months. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you don't know why you were that kind of kid?
I don't know. I've always been
Are you an only?
I'm only child.
Oh, well, that could be part
That
of
might
it.
be part of it. Also, my parents got divorced when I was like 4 or 5.
Oh,
So maybe
okay.
that
So
there's something in there.
Where did you go it for?
So I mean they stayed in the same town, and I lived with my mom, and then just kind of like went back and forth between the houses.
Sure, 2 Christmases.
Yeah, sweet. And then he moved to Albany when I was 12.
Gotcha.
So then it was a longer back and forth on the
Gotcha.
weekends. Yeah, and then I also I grew up horseback riding. I convinced them to.
Oh wow.
Yeah, when
Western
I was
or
like
English.
English
I could have
hunter
guessed.
jumper.
I
was like
guessed.
I was like on show ponies.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Like my room was covered in ribbons. Like, and
Oh my
I was
God.
such a little brat. Like, I would.
Were?
Yeah, fair. I would keep. This makes me sound so terrible, but like I got so many of them that I started throwing out the last place ones.
Oh my God.
I'd be like, I don't need those.
I love.
I'm just
every
gonna keep the championship
piece of
and the
that.
first place and the second place. Third can stay until I get more first, and then they can start to go.
Wow. Not for nothing, but like That's incredible, isn't that? Right? And the irony is that's
kind of terrible. But
now you're a grown actress, and you'd probably do the exact same thing on your resume. Like, well, I could throw these series away, and once I get these new
totally. Oh yeah, no, there's definitely some like student films, and I'm like, and that just booked something new, and that goes away. That hilarious. Disappears forever.
So you were throwing away your. By the way, did you say you didn't say last place trophies? Did you?
Well, yeah,
or
no,
like
they
participations.
No, it's like ribbons go up through 6th place usually.
Oh, so even if you
but
placed...
like by the time, and they're different colors, right? So blue is first and red and second, and by the time you get to like 6th, or sometimes they'd even go to 8th, they were like brown, and I was like, this is stupid. I don't want
a shit ribbon.
I don't
Get
want
that
a
off
shit
my wall.
ribbon. Yeah, I think 5th was pink.
Oh my
or something,
goodness.
and I was like, no.
And you would just get rid of them.
Get rid of them.
So you were super competitive as well as being an academic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Were you ever considered gifted? Were you ever in like a GATE program or anything like that?
I don't know what that is. So
gifted.
No.
The only reason I know GATE is because my niece is in it. It's like gifted and talented education is what they call it.
Oh.
Like GATE, GATE. And I think it's like, oh, hey, you're doing more work than your peers at this level, so they just give you harder work, I think is pretty much how it comes down to.
No, I mean, I did like AP classes or honors classes.
But that was in high school, though.
Yeah.
What about when you were younger than that? No, you were just a smart kid?
I was a smart, but also I was mostly in elementary school. I was put in the English as a second language class, not because I didn't know English, but because they wanted to mix in English-speaking kids so that they would learn English. So all of my friends I would have for like a year, and then they would go back because their parents were like on sabbatical from whatever university they were working at, and they'd come and work at Cornell.
Oh wow!
And then we'd be friends.
So you got like exchange students essentially.
Yeah, and then they'd like move back to Israel or wherever.
Wow! And so, do you think that you were put in that class because you were like a good speaker, or was it random?
I don't know. I think maybe because I was.
It's based on what it sounds like. You're like, oh, my mom told me I needed to relax on school. Maybe they were like, oh, well, we can put Helen in this class as the buffer. She can help the other.
I think that's what it was. That was the buffer.
You were essentially a student teacher without being a student teacher.
Oh yeah. Well, I was also definitely like the obnoxious kid. I remember in 6th grade we had a new choir teacher. He would like just graduated from IC.
Right.
And he was like. He must have been like 24 or something like that.
Right.
And in hindsight, I'm like, man, I'm such an asshole. But like some girls were talking during class and they were disrupting the singing. And I was very upset about it. And he wasn't like really disciplining them. And I pulled him aside after class. And I was like, you need to discipline those girls. They're causing a problem.
God damn it, Becky.
I
cannot.
That was me.
You literally pulled a teacher.
Yeah. And it was like his first year teaching, and he like still, and then he's still a teacher there, I think.
Right. How old were you? What year is this?
I was like
high school?
6th grade.
Oh no, even younger than that.
Yeah, I was like 11 or 12.
Oh my God.
But I mean, I also was a huge choir nerd, and we ended up becoming friends. Like me and a bunch of kids sang at his wedding, and like,
oh wow,
yeah,
that's sweet.
But he was like, he never let me live that down. He was like, yeah, you're my first year teaching. You gave me a talking to.
Wow, that's a stark contrast from my experiences, in which I was the kid who teachers
was disrupting.
Not so much, because here's the thing: is that I was always a good student, even though I never did any work. But I was a really respectful kid, and the teachers all really liked me.
Yeah.
But they were forced to pass me because they liked me, even though I didn't necessarily.
You just kind of got away with shit.
I got away with everything.
I mean, to be fair, I think I got away with a lot of shit because I kind of built up this reputation of being a hard worker and like a good student.
Right.
And even now, I'm kind of like, people are like, you work so hard. I'm like, do I? I don't know.
But were you also the artsy kid? Because I feel like those two people don't, like, I was looked at as like, oh, Jake, he excels in the arts and music, so I'm gonna let you fail this English or this social studies test.
Yeah.
Because I know that you're gonna be really good in the play, but also just be better next time. Like I got away with
try harder.
I got away with that shit. Like I would always get caught.
You're like how
cutting.
Like athletes on college teams get to like flunk their classes and stay on the team.
Yeah, I was the artsy quarterback.
Yeah. That's great.
Oh man, I'm trying to think of a good pun for that right now, but nothing's coming to me. Yeah. It'll come to me at some point. All right. So you were a total overachiever. It seems like.
Oh, in 8th grade, I was voted most ambitious.
Most ambitious in 8th grade. 9, 10, 11, 12. So that's the year before you become a freshman. Trying to do math in my head. 9, 10. Yes. Okay, so you're in middle school. And you're you're already. Geez.
And I remember because they announced them at lunch, all of the superlatives or whatever. Is that what they're called?
Yeah, I think so. You should know you're an overeducated, overambitious student.
That's just the image that I've created, I guess. Sure. But they announced them like in the cafeteria, and I wasn't in the cafeteria because I was eating my lunch in the choir room.
Hilarious.
Like, with my friends. And then they announced me, and someone had to come and grab me, and I was like, oh, what?
He's like, really? This shit? I'm trying to study.
Yeah.
They're like,
I don't have time for this.
They're like, God damn it, Ellen. Oh my God, that's incredible. So it's safe to say your parents never really had to do a ton of disciplining.
Not a ton.
No.
I guess, the one I got disciplined in high school, me and my friends threw a party at my best friend's house while her parents were out of town. Like we threw like a rager.
Wow.
And the cops had to come, and a girl like almost got alcohol poisoning. Like it was not idiot teenagers drinking.
It was a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were like, hey guys, I've seen a movie. Let's do that.
Let's do that. Let's just drink a bunch of Smirnoff Ice. That'll be
Smirnoff
a great
Ice.
idea.
Oh man, Mike's Hard Lemonades, you guys.
Ugh,
Lots of those.
Zima.
The Zimas.
Zimas.
Now I know how old you are.
Oh, damn it. Damn it.
I just figured out where the cutoff. There's a Zima cutoff.
Yeah,
it's like
is.
the dating people your age, like half your age plus 7. There's a formula for Zima of that. I'm not sure what it is, but I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Wow. So where did any of the acting performance stuff come from? Since you were such an academic, did you were you like, oh, I'm going to be a doctor or a teacher or something in like
I thought I was going to be like some kind of environmental scientist.
It's not too late. We might.
I know. I kind of fucked up.
Yes. Didn't we all?
Made a really selfish career choice. No, I always did the musicals. I never did the plays. The musicals, and then I started a Meisner acting class, like a local Meisner acting class at 16.
Meaning you went to one.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. You said I started it.
Oh, no. Like that's how ambitious. I started an acting studio at 16. I'd never acted before.
Skipped a few steps here.
No. I took class.
So you attended a class at 16.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that was like the scariest thing for me. And I was so proud of myself for doing it. And as soon as I did it, I was like, oh, wait, acting is the coolest because I'm okay being bad at this. Yeah,
that's so in our school we had a BOCES program, which was like
BOCES.
Yeah.
Wait, what is that?
Well, you got to it was like a school of its own, and if you had a specific amount of credits and you were able to
we had BOCES.
qualify, you had to audition for it, and then you got to like go and like spend the last 3 periods of the day, or sometimes the first 3, depending on where you got.
It's like a community college or something?
Kind of, yeah. It was kind of like a community college. That's the best way. Yeah, I guess that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
But it was mostly like high school and college kids, though. It wasn't like that's the only thing when I think of a community college, I think of like, oh, it's everybody of all ages getting there,
Right.
But this was very specific to like, oh, here's a generational kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I think like our big claim to fame was that Natalie Portman went to our BOCES like a few what do you call it before. But anyways, and that just might be a rumor. I don't even know if that's just what I was told. But it was that same kind of thing where I always liked doing the plays in school and whatnot, and I did plays and musicals. Not to say that I'm better than you.
No big deal. No.
But it was high school, and that meant everything. No,
wait, what musicals did you do?
Oh, geez. Princess and the Pea.
I remember the middle school did that after I left, and I was pissed because I wanted to do it.
Grease.
Sure. Yeah.
Oh shit. Annie.
Sure.
And what was the Oz. Yeah.
Oh, Wizard of Oz?
Yeah. Just the most pretentious, obvious ones you could think of.
We did Working, which is a Studs Terkel book that has turned into
a musical?
Yeah, it's actually a really beautiful musical because there's music by James Taylor.
Oh,
and
wow.
like other people. It's great.
We didn't have that cool.
And then what did we do? The Secret Garden and My Favorite Year.
You were a much classier high school than we were.
Yeah. Oh, though I did back before. Well, I don't think there is an excuse for it, but we did the community theater in like a summer program that we did. We did a way too white version of Once on This Island.
Wow.
Like there was like maybe...
You whitewashed Once on This Once in this suburban town.
Yeah. I think there was maybe one African-American kid in it.
Oh, boy.
In hindsight, I'm like, oh, that was really a poor choice.
Yeah. I mean, in hindsight,
yikes.
Most of high school was a poor choice. But
yeah.
But anyways, going to BOCES had the same effect on me where it was like, people are talking to me like I'm an adult, and they are, like I can be bad at something and they work with you. Like, whereas I feel like it was just different. It was just funner. It was better at school.
For me, also, I was like a bit of a perfectionist about stuff.
Oh.
And so in terms of like other creative things I'd tried too,
Okay.
like I never was like a visual artist. Like I couldn't draw,
Okay.
and playing instruments was hard. Singing I liked because I just kind of
It was
understood
natural.
it. Yeah.
It sounds. I can tell. Even though you said that
Yeah.
you've been in vocal lessons, I can tell.
Yeah.
Some people just have the voice, and you have the
Well,
voice.
both my parents sing. They were
Oh,
always like in
interesting.
choirs and stuff.
When you were young.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah.
So they were doing their own. No wonder you're an overachiever. Your
Yeah.
parents, who both work in
Yeah.
in university,
Yeah.
are both like, well, we also have after school
They
activities
do.
to do.
Yeah. My dad is still in a like church choir. And,
Really? Oh,
yeah.
nice.
Yeah. Yeah. And my mom put out at one point she put out an album. She has a CD, and I'm on the cover.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna hear this story.
I know it's so
Your
when
mom dropped an album.
yeah, when she started dating my stepdad, who's a jazz musician.
Oh, okay.
And he had like a weekly gig that people could guest in vocalist
Right,
on,
yeah.
and she would go and do that a bunch. That was like part of their kind of dating
Yeah.
fun thing. And then she was like, "Screw it, I'm gonna make a CD."
That's incredible.
Yeah. So
And
it's a bunch
how
of
were you
jazz
on the
songs.
cover of it? They just
Uh,
used a picture?
It's like a picture of like little baby me at a birthday party.
Oh,
Yeah.
what a weird cover.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with anything.
Nothing to do with
And like
nothing to
it's
do with
her
the theme.
pictures on the back.
She's
but-
like, I like my daughter.
Yeah.
She's-
yeah,
even on her own CD, that's how much she loves you.
Yeah.
Even on her own
Yeah.
CD, she's like,
I get some
"Yeah,
credit."
A picture of my daughter.
yeah. No, it's sweet. I should find that somewhere. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, what's the name of the album? What's the name of the artist? Where does she go? What does she go by?
I mean, it's
Does she have
just
a
her
stage name?
No, Susan Earl.
Susan Earl, like EARL?
E.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
EARL.
Right? Oh God. Yeah.
This you can't get wrong.
Oh boy. And then I think it's called. Am I mixing this up with like a Nora Jones album? It's like Fresh and Familiar or something.
I wouldn't know, but I'm just gonna say no. That your mom's album was called Fresh and Familiar,
Yeah. Something like that.
which kind of fits you on a cover as like a little baby you at a birthday party.
Yeah.
She's fresh and familiar.
Fresh and Familiar.
That's fair.
Yeah.
So, so you were thinking maybe you would do something in,
Yeah, I liked. I mean, acting class was my favorite part
Right.
of the day, and rehearsals were my favorite part, and homework was annoying, and
Right.
I mean, school was fun because I liked my friends, and
Of course.
but whatever. And then I applied to colleges for environmental science, but wrote all my essays about wanting to do theater.
Oh, did you not get in any of them?
I legitimately didn't. I
I
got into
wonder why.
one place. Yeah,
Oh.
shocker.
Oh, wow.
And I was like heartbroken.
I don't know why they didn't have me.
Yeah.
I'm here to save the earth.
Exactly.
She's singing all of her. Yeah.
And they're like, go do that. Some like sweet admissions,
Right.
person is just like, yeah,
Poor
go,
person who has to read all
go
these.
do that. So I instead moved to New York and went to theater school.
Oh, where did you go to school in New York?
Well, this is how I met Maggie.
Oh.
So I went to the neighborhood playhouse, School of the Theater,
Oh, wow.
which is Meisner's school.
Right.
And I met Maggie there my first day.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I went there also partially because my dad had a while ago moved to New York
From
Albany.
From Albany, right.
And I actually applied early decision to Columbia, and I didn't get in. Shocker, because I wrote about
You wrote about doing
theater.
something different than they
Yeah.
wanted you to come do in their school.
Yeah. And then I realized when I was so sad that I didn't get in, it was less about the school and more about, I won't be in the same city as my dad. And so I
see.
moved to New York, and I did. I lived on my own. Or I lived
How
with
does your
my
mom
sister.
feel about that?
I don't know. She was supportive. I don't know. They all.
You were like, "Listen, Mom, we had a good run.
We had a good run. I got to go live with
Yeah,
Dad now.
Dad was in Albany for
Yeah.
all this time, and
Yeah.
now I feel like I need to be.
I
where
don't know.
he
I
is.
think she probably understood it. I mean, they're
Gotcha.
very friendly. It's not like
Right.
a terrible
Oh,
divorce.
that's great.
Yeah.
That's super great.
Yeah. But yeah, and then went to theater school instead.
Wow.
Whoops.
And you met Maggie Levin there, and
Mhm.
anybody else from your little friend circle comes from that school?
Do you know Lauren Shacker?
Nope.
She's
Not
from
yet.
there. I don't know. I mean, I met Alex, who you know,
Alex
in-
Marshall Brown, who's also
also
sat
in
down
New
on
York,
the couch.
but-
Yeah,
Yeah, but
gotcha.
not in theater.
Not
school.
from that school. Gotcha.
Yeah,
And so, like, how long is that program there?
it's 2 years,
Gotcha. So it's a legit school then. It's
and
not
you have
like
to
a
be asked back to the second year. So what I did
by invite only.
Yes. So I got into Boston University and I deferred for a year because I was like, I don't know, maybe I'll just go later to see what this theater thing is. I have to get asked back. I might not get asked back anyways. And
it's interesting because Boston is also a great music school town.
Yeah. And that school has a great theater program.
Right.
And my high school best friend got into the theater program there. And I was like, I don't want to spend 4 years watching her do the thing that I want to do.
Oh.
That would
be awful.
Be really painful.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go do my thing.
Right.
Maybe I'll go back in a year. But then as soon as I got to New York, I was like, nope, this is it.
Right.
I live here now.
This is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
How well? So you did that right out of high school?
Mm-hmm.
So you're 18, 19, living in New York City.
Mm-hmm.
God, what's that like? I'm from just outside of there, and I still can't imagine living there at 18.
You never lived there?
Nope. I spent extended stints.
Yeah.
With
Did
friends
you go
and
into the city and party on the
yeah,
weekends?
yeah. I
and
mean,
stuff?
because the city was only a 30-minute train ride,
right?
So it was a popular thing to go into the city,
right?
But then the best part about
that, bridge and tunnel.
Oh, the best part about that was going home and not having to be there anymore.
Yeah, I bet.
But I mean, I feel like at 18 though, that probably would have been just a dream though. Just like the electricity and that, I love it here.
It was definitely really fun. It was also really scary. I remember once when I first got there, because I didn't live with my dad. My stepsister lived there. And so thankfully I lived with her. And that was kind of grounding.
And especially if that's your first taste of personal freedom and living on your own, to be I'm living on my own, like I'm not here with mom or dad, but I am here with my stepsister.
And she's got it covered.
Right.
She's
and
cool.
How long after your parents got separated did your mom get remarried, or unless the stepsister is from a father's marriage?
No, stepsister is my stepdad's daughter.
Gotcha.
And I think I was 16 when they got remarried.
Okay,
when they got married.
So it was
like a recent stepsister.
Gotcha. Yeah,
and she's
that's what I was asking. It's not like
she's like 5 years older than me, 4, something like that. And she she was there working through her master's.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And so you were squatting with her while going to school. I mean, that's really a pretty sweet. That's a pretty sweet setup.
It was really cool. Though I also remember my first week there, just being kind of low key terrified to leave the apartment.
Really?
Yeah. And I watched a lot of Sex in the City. I just binged.
Wait, did you think that was how you were going to learn how to navigate the city?
Or something? Yeah, maybe.
you're like, I'm afraid to go outside.
I'm here and I'm doing it.
This, and then I'll ease my way into it.
Yeah.
I just need to follow the ladies having brunch someplace, and then
this
everything.
Is what it's. I just need to find a place to get a Cosmo.
Right.
And I'll be okay.
Which is weird because that show made public transportation seem like a breeze compared to reality.
Right.
What was that like? I feel like just navigating the city early on.
I mean, it was fairly, I kind of had my route to school and that was pretty straightforward. But I also remember maybe in that first week, I went to have dinner with my dad. And I was kind of like, I don't know how to get home.
Right.
And he's like, here's money for a cab. Just take a cab, whatever.
Tell them the number.
And I was like, okay, yeah. And he walks away and I pretend to hail a cab. And then I'm like, nope, fuck it. I'm taking the bus and saving this money.
Thanks, Dad.
Thanks, Dad.
Yeah. That's happened on more than one occasion. Yeah. Where I've someone
I need money for a cab. Just kidding. Taking the train.
Someone's giving you something to help you get someplace, and you went like, well, yeah, great, but now also the cheaper way to do this.
Cheaper way to do this. Yeah.
I always feel like I get kind of surprised when I go back home to New York, because it's at one point in my college years. I always say that because I should have been in college, but I wasn't. So I call them my college years.
Wait, you also didn't go to college?
Well, I dropped out after 1.5 semesters of community college.
Yeah.
And I was like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
This isn't doing anything for anybody.
Yeah.
So during those years, I was in the city constantly because that was when you're like, I could just go to the city now, right? Yeah. And I got really familiar with it, and I would always. Whether it was meeting friends probably like you who were new to the city because they were going to school there at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. I got a lot of friends that I met through that program and all these sorts of things. And I would always be like, how could you not understand the city? It's one big grid.
It is.
It's just a big grid. But then it's funny when I go back home now and I take the train, I take the train I open up, I pop up out of Penn Station. I go, okay, let me look at the app. Let me just look at my maps and figure out where. I am such a tourist in my own city now.
I am that way too when I go back. But when I would live there, I also had an app that would tell you which train door, which car, and then which door to stand in front of in order to make the
transfer
connection easy. Yes,
easiest. Right. Or sometimes the only half of the train hits the platform.
Right.
And if you were too far in the back, you had to run
G-train.
forward. Yeah, you have to book that fucking train. You're like, God damn it.
Yeah.
Well, right on. Well, New York is a great place to like feed your creative spirit.
Yeah.
What were you doing while going to school there?
I mean, I could only go to school. It was like such an intensive schedule.
Is it? It's intense?
Yeah. It's like very long days. We had like 15 minutes for lunch.
Right.
And so I don't know. What was I doing? I was like eating bagels. Like,
right. What else did you do in New York?
I was like rehearsing scenes and eating bagels. I think that was mostly my life. And then drinking underage. Like, because I had, this was, okay. So on the first day of school, we had our little school ID.
Right.
Yeah, they take your picture and whatever. But this school is so rinky dink that they would have you write in your birth date.
Perfect.
And I was 18. So I was like, oh, well, I just aged a few years.
Right.
Thanks for the fake ID, school. And then I got into bars like no problem because I'm a girl.
They would accept that though? Well,
I'm shocked that they did
I
that.
talked over you, but that's the truth. It's because you're a girl.
It's because I'm a girl.
And they were like, oh, pretty girl. And it doesn't really matter.
Exactly. I would just like smile and like push up my boobs a little.
Doesn't matter what you showed us. You were going to get in.
I know. Other people are like having to show like passports.
Right. Yeah. That was me. Like always and I didn't even drink. I never did, but I would still go with my friends to places where I would need an ID. And they'd always have like the RFID reader, like before it was even a thing. I'm like, why am I the one? I don't even care. I'm not here for the thing you're doing this for.
And I got in with like a handwritten.
Yeah, you got in with a library card.
Essentially,
it's pretty much what it is.
Yeah.
And so, did you get an opportunity to do plays and do actual work while at the school, or is it all study?
No, you're not allowed to.
Oh boy,
they would kick you out if you like auditioned for real stuff, and it didn't even really cross my mind to do that. You know, you hear about like big stars doing that where they're I was in school and then like I booked a thing and I had to drop out of school. Like it didn't even cross my mind that I could just go try and find work.
Right. I
was like, no, you go to school. That's what you do.
It's interesting you say that. I've mentioned this on the show when speaking to other actors a lot. And that is when I realized that I wanted to be an actor, it was just sort of like oh, cool. Okay, you want to be an actor. And that was as far as it went. Like I didn't know what that looked like, how that happens.
Yeah.
And then come time to go to college when I was like, I was thinking about going to Purchase. I was like, like I was thinking about all these different schools and I was like, I'm not getting into any of these because I just wasn't good in school. You know what I mean? Yeah. And also couldn't afford any of them. Yeah. And then I was like, all right, well, I guess I'll go to this community college because it was totally free. I got to go completely for free to this community college.
That's
I wasted it. I dropped out. But it was because I the financial aid worked out and it was so cheap. The school was, was 30 feet from my high school essentially.
Yeah.
But then at that point, I'm just like, okay, well, what do I do to get, how do I become an actor? Like, what does that look like? And it's such I didn't even have the concept of try to get management or send headshots. Like back when people would send hard copy headshots, none of that shit ever dawned on me as a thing that you could do. So it makes sense when you're like, oh, I'm coming to school to be an actress. That's all I have to do.
I just go to school.
I'm doing the thing.
I did it. Yeah, I'm doing it.
And eventually I'll be an actress.
Yeah, it really didn't cross my mind. I mean, after graduation, we had a showcase at the end of the second year and, I got 0 calls. I think maybe one. I think my boyfriend at the time it was the only person who got a call for a commercial rep.
Oh, wow.
And
he had really good teeth.
Well, he was a redhead. He was very specific.
Gotcha. Somebody was like, I don't have this type in my.
No, seriously.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. I'm missing redhead guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. In my roster.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Right on. And so you went for a full 2 years?
Yeah.
You did the whole thing.
Did the whole thing.
And then when you were done, where was your life when you were done?
Yeah. Well, I remember actually being very confused about what to do after.
Yeah.
Because just your whole life up until that point is you do this grade and then you do that grade and then you do that. There is the next step laid out for you. You don't even have to think about it.
Even after high school for a lot of people, it's
and
sometimes up until you're 25, 26.
Right.
That's just the way life is.
Right. If you're going and getting your master's or if you're doing all of that. And I just remember falling into a little bit of a depression being now I just have the entire rest of my life.
That shit is daunting.
Fuck.
It's scary. That's a real scary moment.
Yeah.
When it was clear to me that I was not going back to school and it was clear to everybody in my life that I was not going back to school, it was just sort of all right, I'm playing in bands. I'm doing community theater.
Yeah.
And I guess I'm doing my life now.
I guess this is life.
I guess I'm lifing.
Right.
Like, meanwhile, I have all these dreams of like these things that I wouldn't never understand
Yeah.
how to ever accomplish in any way. But I'm
Yeah.
like, I work at a music shop. I give music lessons to kids. That's what I do for a living.
That's good.
And that's it. Like, this is
who I am.
this is it now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I started to hustle a little bit. Like, I found out about casting director workshops and like agency workshops. I got an agent through a workshop
still
like
in
that.
New York.
Still in New York. And then I started auditioning for stuff. And in hindsight, like thinking about the stuff the opportunities that I had that I totally
took for granted
and was not prepared for.
Oh, gotcha.
Like, not that I was unprepared and unprofessional, but like, I was just like a little baby, wide-eyed. I didn't know what the hell I was doing.
Yeah.
Auditioning for like a Nancy Meyers movie or for Broadway.
But you went to that really, really fancy school though.
Yeah, but I didn't know what anything was.
Yeah.
I was like, I can do Meisner. I can like listen and answer.
Sure.
Does that count?
So let me ask you this, and I'm not trying to bait you into shitting on school by any means. It's simply a question. But this is my big problem with people who go to film school and then don't learn how to work in the film industry.
Yeah.
Is it sort of similar where they taught you how to act and the craft, which is incredible and necessary and a thing that I think I missed out on. Mm-hmm. But then simultaneously they don't really teach you how to work in the industry. Is it some of that?
Yeah, I think they were just still, I mean, I don't know what they're like now.
Right.
Hopefully they've made a bit of a shift. But I mean, I think it is special to like have a designated time to not think about making it in the industry and just focus on your craft.
Sure,
I think there is a
course.
lot of value to that. And I mean, it's definitely a privilege. It's really,
yeah. It's one that I wish that I definitely wish that
I feel very grateful for it. But also, yeah, like I don't know that I was really given the full tools to like really, I mean, there were some classes about business a little bit, but
right. The reason I ask is I feel like that's just such a recurring thing. Is I'm always fascinated as somebody who didn't go to college to any degree of anything worthwhile. That it really is surprising to me how many people that I know that went to school either for the performing arts or actor or even like engineering, some sort of technical field or film. And when they all got out of college, none of them were like, they're like, oh yeah, they taught me all of this stuff, but
how to do it, but not job placement.
But yeah, none of them went like, and now we're going to put you in whereas I have friends who like went to school to be, quote, real jobs or real professionals. And like, oh yeah, part of my schooling is they put me in this thing and then I get internship here and then I do this and then now I'm working.
Yeah.
All because of the school I went to.
Yeah.
I'm that doesn't work in our industry.
Like that one, Northeastern.
Yes.
Northeastern has that like 5-year program because like half the time you're interning. Yeah.
That was my high school girlfriend went there.
My high school boyfriend went there.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe they ended up hooking up with each other and we can hate them together.
Yes.
But yeah, and so that was, I remember like doing the I'm gonna drive home, I'm gonna take this trip over here now. But anyways, so yeah, so you're fresh out of school, you've figured out a way to get some sort of agent.
Yeah.
And then you auditioned for things that you weren't ready for.
Yeah. And I mean like, and I did okay. I got some callbacks here and there. And I booked my first Law and Order audition.
Yeah.
And I remember, I think it mostly had to do with the fact that I walked in and I wasn't like, oh my God, it's an audition for Law and Order.
Right.
I was like, every New York actor does Law and Order at some point.
Right.
The show has been on for 1 million years.
Right.
It will be on for 1 million more.
Sure.
It's just inevitable.
Right.
This is the first of many auditions that I will have for this show.
And you probably booked it because
and then
of
I booked it.
Yeah. And that is, I talk about that a lot where it's the more you care, the less you're going to get.
Yeah.
The less likely you are to get this part.
Yeah. Totally.
But that's still a fantastic, way to jumpstart, especially because I was going to ask you if at any point you wavered. I'm like, well, maybe this isn't what I'm going to do. But I feel like if you have that sort of like,
yeah, I got some nice feedback
momentum.
early on.
Yeah,
exactly. I was getting enough positive feedback.
Right.
But yeah, it never really, I don't know. This is just kind of what I'm going to do. Like,
really?
I'm just going to suffer through it for always, I guess.
when you decided that you were like, oh, I'm going to go to school for theater and this is what I'm doing, what were mom and dad's reactions to that?
They were surprisingly supportive.
Yeah.
Well, because they both they've been interested in the arts. Like they both
like
sang
you said,
and stuff,
yeah.
and like they did, plays in high school and college.
Right.
But then they kind of did the grown up get a real job thing.
Right.
So I think there's a part of them that's kind of like, no, yeah, go do the creative thing.
Yeah, that's it's fun. It's my girlfriend Alexandra. I feel like she's told me that her father seems to be more interested in me than previous partners.
Ooh.
And like has this personal investment. And she explained to me, it's like, oh, because, in his heart of hearts, he's a musician. He was a drummer for like band. But then he went and he had the wife and kid, and then he got a real job. And
he's like gunning for you.
Got a
job
to
work out.
Yeah. And so
That's
I think
really
that,
sweet.
and so I think that like, that's a real thing where it's like, oh, especially if they're like of the boomer generation.
Yeah.
Because it's like, they had to go to work. That was just what they did.
Yeah.
So none of them got the luxury and the privilege that we do of to be like, hey, maybe we live in a society right now where we can figure out a way to make money to get by without having to dedicate our career to whatever that thing is.
Right.
And so we can, not to say that it's easy, because we're all sacrificing very much to do that, but it's easier, I think, than it was for them, especially the time that they grew up and the expectations that were on them with their parents. So I'm not surprised to hear that, like, oh yeah, mom and dad like, oh, go do the art thing. Yeah, that'll be fun.
Yeah.
Especially if, and I apologize if I'm overstepping here, but like if they're both somewhat successful in their careers, and it's like, well, if anything happened, we got you.
Oh yeah, no, I was definitely very lucky in that sense that I was never like fully gonna be in free fall.
Right. Yeah.
Like no.
Yeah.
No, it was very cushy compared to some people who are really
right. No time limits given, that kind of thing.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, the most I got was like, my grandpa would every now and then, and even this is how privileged I am. My grandpa would be like, hey, if you want to go to college, I'll pay for it. And I'd be like,
wait, after I went to
this, and I was like, but thank you. That is very generous.
What did grandpa do?
I don't want to, though.
Who's grandpa? Now I want to know about grandpa.
Grandpa was an aeronautical engineer at Stanford, or is.
God damn.
Yeah.
Yeah, you really broke the mold on this one.
Yeah. Yeah. But then his wife, who I'm named after, my grandma Helen, she was a housewife, but before she had kids, she acted in like community theater.
Oh, interesting.
I have one of her old headshots.
Do you look like her?
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit? Oh, I love that.
And she was actually in I Ship It. There's like a scene where my character's looking at this like wall of employees, and there's like an old lady who got employee of the month, and I'm like, I don't want to be like you, and it's my grandma.
You use that? Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So at some point, it must dawn on you like, okay, well, if grandpa's willing to pay for me to go to college, then
Which
I can.
is so generous.
Then I'm
very lucky.
Very lucky. Yes, I hate you.
I know.
But at some point, you have to kind of feel a little invincible, as far as like,
totally. I think so.
I can fail at this.
Yeah.
Did that like help?
I'm sure it did. I don't think I was conscious.
The bravery?
No? I don't think I was conscious of it, but
so
I think
you weren't aware. Still too young and too dumb to realize.
I think so. Yeah, I was just kind of like, lucky me. Yeah. No, I don't think I really got how lucky I was to be supported in that way.
Right.
Because there's people who are like really defying their family by making this big courageous thing, and I was always like, I don't get that. Like,
yeah.
Just do it. It's fine.
And everybody's like, Helen, shut up.
Like, shut the fuck up. Helen.
Shut up, Helen. We get it. You yell at your teachers because they're not disciplining people enough, but give enough with it.
Yeah.
Well, that's fair. How long did you do the New York thing for?
I was there 6 years. Yeah.
6 years.
6 years. Yeah. So, I mean, and I worked a bunch of different little jobs I worked at
You had to be a waitress at some point.
I actually never was. I was the closest I got.
You're not. You didn't live in New York.
I know.
That doesn't count.
Well, the closest I got is I was a hostess at.
That's the same. That's fair. I'll take it.
At the Central Park Boathouse restaurant.
Oh, at the Boathouse.
Yeah. That place is a nightmare.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah. It is run only on fear.
And also, like, anything that's a tourist trap like that.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
I don't know if it's still there, but at one point, they had me record the incoming phone menu.
Hilarious.
So, like, if you call, it'd be like, press 1 to talk to da-da-da.
Yeah.
I should call sometime and see if it's me.
How long ago would that have been now?
I mean, they must have re-recorded it, right?
I don't know. How long? Because some
over a decade. Like, it can't possibly still be there.
I mean, maybe. You never know.
I haven't checked.
I mean, you know what? If they've updated their phone systems, probably not. But if they haven't, it's probably still there. Because why would they change it?
Yeah.
I mean, if nothing on there, if it's not like anything pertinent, it's not like the Wednesday specials.
No. It was just like dial 2 for hours. And
well, now you have a task after this. Yeah. We'll call and record it on Skype. Yeah. We'll see if it's so you did New York for 6 years, and is there a reason that you left? Was it because everybody all your friends left?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Maggie was a big part of it. Right. Actually, so wait, has Maggie been a guest on this podcast?
Yeah.
And Alex.
Yes, both of them.
Okay, great. So I'm like the link in between them of how
they became friends?
No, yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So I met Alex doing a play in New York, And
after school, or else you would have gotten kicked out.
yeah, after school, exactly. And that production was just a mess. Like everything, people were dropping out last minute. Someone like got blind, like randomly fell blind during Tech Week and had to be replaced. I don't know. It was.
Was it the Scottish play?
No, no, it was Uncle Tom's Cabin.
What? Oh, right.
Yeah,
Wait,
right. It was
was it a hit job? Was it? Like,
I don't know what
was
happened.
Was it an understudy that
he,
was
like,
really
called,
wanted a part?
He called in blind, and we were like, you what? Are you okay? Alex actually,
and that person went on to become Daredevil. A lot of people don't know. It's like,
known fact.
It was a freak accident.
Yeah.
The barrels were filled with toxic sludge.
Whoops.
That is, I mean, we're joking. Hopefully this person is okay.
No, we actually, Alex and
I
I checked on him recently. We like found him on Facebook and we're like, okay, he's happy, he's healthy, he's thriving. Great. Okay, good.
Wow. That's weird and scary.
Yeah.
And so you met Alex doing that.
So I met Alex doing that show. And then Maggie had been talking about moving out to LA. And she came out to visit because she was in this long distance relationship. And she was like, I think I'm going to do it. And then she moved, and I, like a couple months later, came out and did one of those like week-long casting director workshop things where they're like, they tell you about what LA is and you meet people. And then I booked Criminal Minds off of that.
Wow.
Or I got called in for Criminal Minds off of that because I met Scott David.
There's a lot of people that may be actors listening to this that are just so angry at you right now.
Oh, no, totally.
They're like, oh, your first two major television
I know,
things?
exactly.
Yeah.
So, and then to be fair, for anyone listening, or everyone listening, I didn't work for like 2+ years
right,
after
well,
that.
That is
like,
how it works.
That's how it works. Yeah, I was like, oh my God, this is so easy. I just like poof, get on set, no problem.
Oh, LA? I can LA.
And then I move here and no one will see me
just
for
crickets.
like 2+ years.
Because do you want to know why? Is because the second you moved, there was a busload of people doing that workshop from Omaha.
I know.
And they booked something.
Yeah. So you got the key to living in LA is you have to move away frequently and then come back fresh.
That way you're always the new.
Yeah, so you're always the new hot
thing.
new face. Yeah.
Oh, jeez. God, I hope not.
Yeah, that's depressing.
That is depressing.
But yeah, so I did that and was like, LA is easy. This is cool. It is not. And then I moved out quickly and started living with Maggie and Russell and his brother Scotty. And then I remember when I told Alex, and she'll back me up on this
that
story,
you were moving.
That I was moving. I was like, yeah. So I think I'm moving to LA. And she goes, I can't move to LA. I was like, no. I'm moving to LA. She's like, right. I can't move to LA.
I think she might have told me this story.
She might have. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, I'm sorry. A third time. I am moving to LA. What are you saying? And then she ended up moving like a month after me.
Really?
Or like 3 months after me.
Wow. Were you guys living together in New York by this time?
No, me and Maggie were.
Gotcha.
And then Alex moved out here.
How long did you stay with your stepsister?
That was only a year.
Oh,
that was only the first year.
And then you got your own place.
No, I wish. I mean, roommates.
Well, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
Meaning you got wow.
Yeah, no. How does anyone afford their own place?
No, especially in that.
In New York.
I mean, if your place is a closet and someone else's, yeah, exactly.
Right. No.
Hey, can I rent your closet? Sure, $800 a month.
Yeah.
All right, it's a good deal.
Plus utilities.
Yeah, exactly.
God, no.
But the subway's right there.
Right.
So you move out to Los Angeles, and you said that it felt a little dried up at that point. Like as far as like you didn't work for 2 years.
Yeah.
I mean, that at any point were you like, hey, Grandpa, remember that?
I should have, probably. That probably would have been the smart thing to do. No, I was like, I guess I just kind of survive through this and figure it out.
Was there any part of your like childhood overachieving that you think like you utilized later in life? Whether in your like career path or just
I think probably the like mild delusion that I'm just always going to be okay. Like, I think that probably comes into play.
Yeah, we're very different, you and I. I wish it was delusion for me. It's like acceptance of the misery.
Yeah, you're just like, I'm just going to always be miserable.
Yeah, and you're like, no, everything's fine. We're two sides.
But
of
it's
the
also
same
like
coin.
that can also very quickly slip into denial.
Sure.
Like when I think about my first year in LA, like during it, I was like, this is great. I love it here. I'm adapting. Everything's magic. Look at me. I'm doing it. And then in hindsight, I'm like, oh no, I gained a bunch of weight and I was like super depressed.
You were like, oh man, I wish I had those brown ribbons still.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to see all my achievements.
No, there's some, I mean, oh God, I'm gonna butcher it, but there's some like quote or something that I saw on Twitter that was like basically. I was an overachiever in high school, which was, really great. But now it set me up for all these, like not knowing how to fail.
Right.
Essentially.
Right. Oh yeah. Well, that's like
I'm totally butchering it. It was way
but
better than
I
that.
understand that. I mean, honestly, it's a sentiment that people like that is a big point in like the parenting world right now.
Yeah.
And that is that if, and this is like, and now I'm going to sound like a Republican, like participation trophies are bullshit, but also they kind of are because it teaches people that everything is a success. It teaches children everything is a success.
Yeah.
And if they're so overprotected, then when they get into the real world and their boss fires them because they did something wrong, they're going to think that they're owed something.
Right.
Instead of you did something wrong and you got fired.
Right. And you need to look at your actions and maybe make some adjustments.
And it's an unhealthy look at society, but yeah.
Yeah.
But I can understand that.
So I'm actually kind of glad that shit didn't just like pick up when I got here because I really had to work through some stuff and like learn about the industry and learn about myself.
Humble
and
you a little bit too.
Yeah.
That was me. So I moved out here from Florida because I lived there for a short while. Florida, I was doing stand-up, and in Florida, I was one of the big fish in the small pond in the stand-up world. Because I was like, reliable, and I could walk into any club and they go, "Oh, Jake is here," and I could be like, "Hey, can I do 5?" And they'd be like, "Yeah, sure, whatever, do time." And it was that kind of thing. And you move out to LA, and all of those people who were touring, who would come through Florida, who you were like, "Hey, I'm a super buddy with this person and this person." When I move out to LA, they'll want to help me out, and then you move out to LA and nobody answers a phone call because like, yeah, everybody moved out to LA. I can't help you. What are you doing?
Yeah.
And then you realize like, oh, I walk into a club and they go, "Who are you?" Like, when door guys don't recognize you and you have to be like, "Oh, I'm a comedian." Like it's awful. And it's probably a similar experience where it's like you come out here expecting like, "Oh, this is going to be a cakewalk."
Oh, well, I remember being told that as someone with New York theater credits, even though they're nothing that anyone out here has heard of.
Sure.
They're like off
right,
Broadway.
Yeah.
But I'm like,
they're in Harbor. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm like, I have New York theater credits. That's going to really count out here. No one gives a shit.
People don't care about LA theater credits out here.
No.
People don't care about theater credits. People don't care.
Like, I kind of wish that someone had just sat me down and been like, "Hey, guess what? No one cares."
Right. Did you ever bridge a gap between theater and film in New York? Or when you were in New York, was it like, "Oh, I'm going to school for theater and now I'm going to audition for TV shows"? Because it seems like, did you ever want to say like, "No, I'm here to do theater"?
I don't think I really understood that there was that much of a difference.
No.
I think I did want to do theater. I wanted to be on Broadway. I wanted to do musicals.
Oh, interesting.
And then when I got the agent and auditioned for other stuff, I was just like, I just want to be a good actor.
Gotcha. Right. Yeah.
But I didn't really. I didn't know what TV was. Like I didn't know enough about it.
Sure. Especially the industry side of it.
Yeah, like I don't know what being on set actually is like.
Yeah, I always thought it, and people that listen to this that love theater are going to be like, "Jake, you're a dick." But at this point, you're this many episodes in the show, you should just know I'm a dick anyway. Like for me, I have to do theater because I'm not doing TV or movies yet. That's how I saw it. It was like
a stepping stone.
To me, or theater, it was like, theater was a stepping stone. Yeah. And of course, I know that's the worst, and it's not. Yeah. It's not the truth, and it's not that all. But that was how I viewed it. In that way, like the second I could stop doing theater, I was like, "Oh, thank God, I don't have to do theater ever again." And here's the thing: is I should still be doing it because I'm not at that point.
Yeah.
But for me, they were very different. Do it
if you like it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Do it if you enjoy the process. That's actually a realization that I had like a few years into New York, because I also had a bunch of friends who like we went to school together, and then New York was too much for them. Yeah. They were just kind of like, "This is overwhelming," or like, "This is making me anxious."
Not people are cut out for it.
They're just like, "I don't like this lifestyle, but I like acting." So they moved, and they're doing regional theater all the time. They're like running regional theater companies now
in small towns,
smaller towns. Yeah,
and honestly, I have friends who do that in Wisconsin and all those other. And it's like, they're like, they literally, any theater who comes through their city, or any play rather, or musical comes through, like has to deal with them, and they are the ones in charge of co-producing it and stuff like that. And it's like, you're still working in just as big of the industry as I am, except you have a house.
Except your rent is cheaper.
Yeah, you have a 3-bedroom house.
You own a house.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean that was. I think I did always want to work in film and TV because I just like a vague notion that was what success was.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I had no idea what that actually meant.
Sure. For me, a big difference too was I love celebrating the work. Yeah. Like that's a big part of it for me. And with a
what does that mean?
With a play, I really enjoyed, like, just like with music, I really enjoyed the rehearsals.
Oh yeah.
Right. And then we would do the play, and then it's over, and then you go like, oh, cool, it happened, and
Yeah.
it's done.
Yeah.
And now it's like there's no way to celebrate that again. There's no way to
Yeah.
celebrate all that time rehearsing.
Yeah.
But with a movie, I can throw in my feature at any given point and watch my movie with friends or with people and like celebrate it and like
you
celebrate
have something
the work.
to hang on to.
Yeah, there's something
Gotcha.
there's something there that you can it's easier to revisit in a way that
Yeah.
brings all the feelings back of making it. Like
Yeah.
hell, even like shitty short films I made when I first got out here, I love watching them and being like, oh, I remember when we did this and this.
Yeah.
And it brings like, again, it's celebrating the art form in that sense, celebrating the
No, but
the
I
work
relate
done.
to the like just like enjoying the rehearsal
Right.
aspect
I
of it.
love that.
Like I love rehearsal.
Yeah.
And I love like I realized also as I worked at in New York, I worked at a space that like rented rehearsal rooms.
Oh, okay.
And
right.
I love an empty rehearsal room.
Yeah.
Like it just makes me so
It's
happy.
all the hope.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah.
full
It's
of
like-
hope. It
it's
can be
full of-
whatever you need it to
Yeah.
be. It's like it's tidy. It's just
Right.
like open and ready for you. It is like a designated space for you to do your work and connect. And
I like that you said it could be anything you want it to be. That's like, I love that. It's like
Yeah.
it's like the X-Men's danger room. Like that's what it is. It's like yeah, this is it. The danger room. Like turn
Yeah.
this into any scenario.
turn it
you
into
need.
whatever you need it to
Whatever
be.
you want it to be.
Yeah,
Oh, I love that.
and I love that. Like I dream of having like enough money to have a house that has like a separate like studio
Facility, yeah.
that could be a rehearsal room.
space. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, I mean, we're going longer than I usually go here, but I feel like there's so much to chat about. Tell me a little bit about I Ship It, and also about the Manhattan Front,
Yeah.
which is an indie feature that you did.
Yeah, it's an indie feature that I actually did in my hometown.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so my acting teacher from Ithaca was like let me know that they were casting, and she had me put myself on tape out here.
Wow.
And then they cast me off tape, and I got to go home, and it was kind of nice because I got to go home
Right.
a couple summers ago and shoot this movie in my hometown, which
That's
was really
fun.
Yeah.
Also irritating that you moved halfway across the country to get a job in your hometown.
I know. My mom was thrilled though.
I'm sure of it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she was very happy.
Yeah, well, considering you chose dad when it was
Right.
time for New York.
Yeah. So I kind of had to take
Right,
the job.
right.
Yeah, no, that was really fun.
And is there plans? I know that it did festivals and whatnot. Is
did
it in the
festivals.
interim? Like I'm in the same situation with my feature where it's like, hey, I made a movie, but you can't see it anywhere yet.
Yeah, I think. Oh, I should double check on that. I feel like I've mostly been getting announcements about festivals, but
Gotcha,
it might be
right.
nearing the end of that.
Right. Yeah.
I know
So-
that. Well, there were some screenings and whatnot in Ithaca.
Right.
but
Sure.
I
Of course. Yeah.
Didn't go to that, so
Yeah.
I don't
well, You're in Los Angeles. Right
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
Have you seen it yet?
know. Yes, or no, I've seen bits and pieces.
Oh,
of it,
you
so I don't think I've
have-
actually sat and seen the full thing.
Oh, well, I hope you get to do that
Yeah.
sometime soon, especially in a theater if you can.
I know.
Nothing like that. There's no experience in the world like that.
I know.
Like I said, celebrating the work. I'm all about celebrating the
Yeah,
work. And what
that's
about I
great.
Ship It?
So I Ship It was a whole amazing experience. So I actually, I mean, I joke and say I stole the audition. I didn't steal it, but Alex had the audition for it because she knew the casting director from college.
Okay.
And it was a musical, and Alex is like, "Oh, I don't really sing."
Right.
And thankfully, she pitched me to the casting director. She was like, "You don't want me. You want my friend." Because I think,
man, imagine that.
I mean, very, very sweet. I took her out to like a very fancy steak dinner when I booked it. But yeah, so and the casting director was such a sweetheart. She, instead of being like, she can send a tape, she was like, yeah, just have her come instead of you.
Right.
So I went through a bunch of rounds of auditions and I booked it. But at the time, it was just a digital series, and I
Right.
didn't even know for who.
Right.
It wasn't until I was like pinned and testing with some guys that I heard that it was for the CW.
Wow. Yeah.
Which I was like, why didn't anybody tell me this sooner? I would have dressed way cuter. God damn it.
Yeah, that's tough. Well, hey, I recently booked something that I didn't know what it was until I got there, and I still can't talk about it yet because of the NDA. But they can't tell you until you sign the NDA. Then they
Right.
go, okay, so what you're doing is blah, blah,
Right.
blah, blah, blah. And I go, well, if I would have known that, then everything getting to this point would have been different. I mean,
Right.
I'm here, so it's fine.
So it's fine. It worked out, but like,
Yeah.
come on.
Set us up for success in some
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
that's fantastic. And you've done 2 seasons of that show?
Yeah, so the first one came out digitally, and then the second one we shot in 2017, and they wrote it. They kind of structured it a bit differently. They wrote it as 6 episodes of half-hour TV.
Gotcha.
That-
Opposed to
as opposed to like I think it was 10 episodes
right.
of digital.
Right. Which is like 8 and change, 9.
Yeah, it was like 10 minutes each or
Right.
something. So this way, they could chop these in half if they
Gotcha.
wanted to. So they weren't sure how they were going to
Right.
distribute it. But they kept dangling, we're going to put it on the CW.
Right,
And
yeah.
we're like, okay.
We'll believe it when we see it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
I mean, even with the second season, I was like, I'll believe it when I'm on set.
Right.
Yeah,
right,
yeah, sure,
right,
sure, sure.
Right.
And yeah, but the second season was so fun. It took place in an alternate universe, so it kind of stands alone from the first season.
That's really fun.
Yeah, we got a bunch of new characters.
And it seems to be popular. Like I have seen people that don't know you in like on social media talking about the show.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like I've seen
great.
people like, and because I think it has like a very like lighthearted, modern. It's really funny. Like
it's
people
really
are very
sweet.
People are very real and like
it's a very, very sweet show. It's a very earnest show, and it's about fandom.
Right. Exactly.
And so I think it speaks to a very specific group of people.
Sure. Yeah.
Who are like,
it
my
speaks
story
to nerd culture. Yeah, a little bit.
And to being a fan of something, and it's a musical, and
it does feel of like whoever wrote or produced or created the show is definitely a Whedon fan. Like it feels like that. It feels like
this is a little bit. So it's Yulin Kwong and her. I mean, it's a little bit her. It's not her story exactly, but like she like grew up writing Harry Potter fan fiction,
right?
And like was deep in that world.
That's fair.
Yeah. So it's about kind of becoming like going from being a fan of something to being a creator of something.
Gotcha. Well, it is fantastic. I do urge everybody to check it out, and they can check it out at CW's website. No?
Yeah, CW Seed. So yeah, we were on the CW for a hot second, but now it is.
so they kept their word. We're gonna do it.
It did make it to TV, and we were on TV. So technically, it's been on TV. We're hanging on to it. And we got to celebrate it. We had a little premiere. We watched it, which was really fun.
That's the best part.
It was that honestly was.
It really is because because it's like the immediate feeling of doing the work. Like when you watch something, like I don't know about you, but if it's something that I'm a part of, I'm not invested. You know what I mean? Like I'm not watching it like the way other people are watching it.
What was funny is
I'm thinking of the moments. I'm
thinking like, oh, they chose that take. Exactly. Oh, they did this. Yeah. And then it was funny. Everybody all day, they were like, how do you feel? How do you feel? Right. I'm like, I like thinking that maybe I'd be nervous or something. I'm like, I'm not. I've seen the show. It's great. I love it. I'm proud of my work. I'm just kind of excited to like let other people experience it and be in the room with and like to reunite with some cast and crew who I hadn't seen in a couple years. So that was fun. Like being able to stand there and be like, hey, look at what we made. Right. Yeah.
Well, check it out. CW Seed. Is it just CWC.com?
I believe so. Yeah.
Probably. Well, fantastic. And how else can people find you on the interwebs?
I mean, I'm on the Instagrams, Helen Highfield. I'm on Twitter, but I don't actually hang out there.
Technically, I'm on
Twitter.
I
have an account, but I'm never there.
And it's Highfield, Highgh.
Field.
Gotcha.
Not low, lots of grass.
I have to ask, is that a real name?
Yeah.
Yeah? What a great name.
Yeah.
Helen Highfield.
You thought I made that up?
I mean, come on, Helen Highfield. Anytime somebody has an alliteration,
I know. That's fair.
You always wonder like, is this? But that's kudos.
I know. Good job,
the
parents.
Highfields. Yeah.
Yeah. And my middle name is Dorothy, so I'm actually
kind
of an old
Helen Dorothy Highfield.
Helen Dorothy Highfield.
Yeah, you sound like a character from Downton Abbey.
Yeah, I know, right?
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Helen. This was such a fantastic conversation. Before we go, just a little bit of the business, of course. If you're enjoying these conversations with the people here on the couches, please do me a favor, throw a rating and review on Apple Podcasts for my humble little show here. Those go a really long way, and they help me celebrate the work. Also, if you enjoy the show, check out the official Elaborate merchandise at dragonwagonshop.com. Listen, I get it. You don't want a t-shirt with my big dumb face on it. That's why there's some really cool looking logos. The Elaborate Let's Talk About It burger joint logo is really fun. There's some really fun shirts, so check that out. Also, you can check out a bunch of other Dragon Wagon network merchandise there at dragonwagonshop.com. It is the best way to support the show and help me keep the lights on. Make sure you're following me on Twitter at LiquidJake, on Instagram at Jake Lloyd. The show does have a Twitter account. Like you said, I guess officially we're on Twitter and on Instagram. I'm terrible at social media. I'm so bad at it, but it's there, and following it. Listen, the fact that I'm bad at it makes it really easy for you guys to follow because you're barely ever going to get bothered by it because I'm so bad at it. But those are both there at Elaborate Pod. And I think that's all the business. Make sure you're checking out Me, You, and 30 Other Men, my fantastic little podcast that I do with my much better half, Alexandra Hoy, in which we watch the WWE Royal Rumble matches and she learns about pro wrestling. That's a fun show. Lots of fun stuff on the network. So please check it all out. And I ask, as I do at the end of every episode, please create art, not content. Be an artist, not an influencer. Thank you so much, Helen. I love you.
Love you. This was lovely. I love that. Create art.
Hey, everybody. I'm sitting here with Cheryl Jones, host of the Movies Made Me podcast. How's it going, Cheryl?
Fine. How are you?
Great. Can you tell me a little bit about your podcast?
Yes. We talk about the movies that have influenced you to be who you are.
That sounds like a really hard thing to decide on.
It is. What's one of your influential movies?
Oh, hands down, one of my most influential movies is City Slickers.
I knew that because you've been on my show.
It's true. Oh, it's all a facade.
Hollywood.
How do people listen?
They can listen at mmmpodcast.com, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play Music, and iHeartRadio.
It's Dragon Wagon.